So guys, to kick off our second week of our 5-week series on senses, this week we're going to talk about sight. We talking about vision. Believing. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. See you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. We talking about sight. Sight. It is believing. We're gonna see this thing through. What? We're gonna see this thing through. To learn. Week 2, baby. Week 2. I pity the fool don't listen to week 2. Sit back, have some fun, and get ready.
Now it's time for Deep Thoughts with Pastor Dennis. Isn't it kind of weird that you have one hand that knows how to do everything, and then one hand that just sits there like, I don't even know how to hold a pencil?
Yes, it's about time to have some fun. Are you ready? Number 1.
Your eyes develop 2 weeks after being conceived. I messed that up. After you are conceived. Turn it up. Your eyes.
Two hours later.
Your eyes start to develop 2 weeks after you're conceived. You distracted me.
2.
The entire length of all your eyelashes over your lifespan is about 98 feet long. That means if you took every individual eyelash and put them in a line, you would have 98 feet.
Number 3.
Eyelashes, hope you're good at editing, because eyelashes, eyelashes
2 hours later.
Eyelashes usually last about 5 months.
4.
Your eyeballs stay the same size from birth to death, although your nose and your ears grow.
Good use of although.
5. An eye, stop laughing. An eye is composed of over 2 million parts. That's a lot of parts.
Rah! Woo! 6.
Only 1/6 of the human eyeball is exposed.
7.
Corneas are the only tissue that don't have blood.
8.
Human eye weighs about 1 ounce and is about 1 inch long. It's pretty nasty.
9. 9.
80% of our memories are determined by what we see.
10.
Eyes heal quickly. With proper care, eyes take about 2 days to heal.
11.
There are about 39 million people in the world that are blind.
12.
80% of vision problems in the world are avoidable or curable.
13.
Humans and dogs are the only species known to seek visual cues from one another. The only ones dogs seek visual cues from are humans.
14. Fingerprint has 40 unique characteristics. That's 40 unique 40 unique characteristics. The iris in the eye has 256. 256. That's a lot of unique characteristics. 15. People who are blind, they can see their dreams as long as they weren't born blind. 16. Red eye occurs because light reflects off the eye back to the camera, causing red eye. Okay! What? 17. 80% of what you're going to learn in your life, you're going to learn through your eyes. 18. Your eyes are the second most complex organ in your body. First is your brain.
Whether it's the bright lights and dazzling colors of the Las Vegas Strip, or the blinding sun that forms this desert mirage, all too often, it's the simple illusions of light and shadow that warp your brain's perspective of reality. To show you what we mean, let's play a game. Take a look at this desert halfway around the world. What do you see? A bunch of big camels, right? Except there are no big camels. Those camels are really shadows thrown by the actual camels, which are the light brown figures on the sand. This photo by National Geographic photographer George Steinmetz is a perfect example of how your brain makes snap judgments about perspective. Your brain has a tendency to assume that whatever you're looking at must be at eye level. After all, you're probably only used to seeing camels from one angle, the ground. Which is why you might have mistaken these black shadows for actual camels. But it only takes a split second of closer analysis for your brain to perform what scientists call mental rotation. This is your brain's way of creating a 3D image of what you're seeing, and then mentally changing the angle to give you a better point of view.
Whether it's a deceptive camera angle, forced perspective, or a trick of light and shadow, the slightest change in perspective can cause your brain to leap to false conclusions, as you're about to see in this next experiment.
Take a look at this image full of bumps and craters. How many bumps do you see? Go ahead and count them. Got your answer? Did you say 4 bumps? Keep a close eye on the image because we're going to turn it upside down. Now how many bumps do you count? Has the image changed to show 6 bumps? How did flipping this image 180 degrees change the craters into bumps and the bumps into craters? It all has to do with your brain and the sun. Here to explain is Professor Jim Cohn of the University of Virginia.
People use the sun to help determine time of day and location. So your brain instinctively understands light comes from a single source above us, and that shadows are created by the light's direction. When your brain sees lighter shading on top of the circle and darker shading at the bottom, it assumes the darker shading is a shadow cast by a light source above and behind the object, meaning that circle must be a bump. But in the case where there's darker shading up top, that means light isn't hitting that area, which is a signal to your brain that this circle must be a crater.
Light, shading, and shadows help your brain give 3-dimensional shape to the flat 2D image of the world projected onto your retinas. To enhance that 3D perspective, your brain also analyzes the distance, depth, and height of everything around you.
All right, so we talked about those fun facts, and the fun facts are always great, but let's tie them into Christ. Got a question for you. What is the one thing you need to see? Come on. You know this. It's light. You ever been in a dark room? Can you see? And I'm not talking about a dark room with a little bit of light coming underneath the door. I'm talking about a dark room. Have you ever been in one? Because if you have, you cannot see a thing. You can only see with light. This means that without light entering into a room or into something, you cannot see what is around you. You have to have something to illuminate where you are. And illuminate means to give light. If there is no light, there is no sight. See, sight is responsive to light. So without light, you can't see. Scripture talks many times about the eyes and how important they are to your walk with God. Matthew 6:22 tells us this. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. That is cool to know. See, John 8:12 tells us this. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. See, Jesus himself says he is the light. You see where I'm fixing to go with this? Yeah. A little while later in John 12:35, Jesus says this. You are going to have the light just a little while longer. Walk while you have the light before darkness takes you. Whoever walks in the dark does not know where they are going. See, this is pretty important because, like I said before, without light, you can't see where you're going. Food for thought. See, if the light of Christ isn't in your life, you only have darkness. See, there's three images, and this is what I want you guys to think about. The first image is a black canvas. The black canvas is your life without Christ. Imagine a beach scene. Beautiful beach scene with a sunset, crashing waves, beautiful scenery. But yet, if you go to that beach at night and there's no stars, no moon, no sun, it's going to be a black canvas. Not saying that things aren't there. Not saying that there aren't hazards in the way to trip you up. Not saying that the beauty is not there. But you can't see it. Now think of the same image. But now you allow a little light in. Just enough light to pick up the darkness. A black and white image is a perfect example of this because there's just enough light for you to illuminate the dark spots. In a black and white image, you have white and you have black. Just enough light to shine on it, but still enough darkness that you really don't have the full picture of what's out there. Now imagine the third example is this full, beautiful picture with the colorful sunset and the nice white sand if you're from Port St. Joe or Panama City, and the beautiful blue, crystal blue water, and the dolphins playing in the water and the people on the beach and just all the colors. The first image, you have no light. It's a black blank canvas. In the second image, you get just enough light where you can illuminate the spots. You can illuminate the shadows and the shades, right? The third example, you get a full color image, 400K, HD quality, good image, beautiful picture when the light is fully allowed to just shine over. So when the sun is out, you get this beautiful image. When the sun is out. In the world, we're thinking of the sun as the S-U-N, the sun that brings the light. But see, I'm talking about in a spiritual sense. I'm talking about the Son of God who brings the life. Also the bringer of light, as we see in Scripture. That black, blank canvas, that is your life without Christ. Because there is no light in your life without Christ. See, that black and white image, that is allowing just enough light into your life. Like going to church. You know just enough God that you can see what's wrong. You can see the dark spots in your life. You know just enough to know that you're doing wrong. Right? So let's equate this to your walk with Christ. So if it's blank, you have no relationship with Christ. You don't even know who Jesus is. That's a blank, dark slate. You live in darkness, as Scripture says. If you illuminate just enough where you can see the shades and the shadows, that black and white image, that's maybe just going to church. That's maybe trying to get to know God, but you're not there yet. And then the third image, and see, this is what I want you guys to see. Your eyes are so amazing in what they can do. Your eyes can illuminate something and you can see beauty beyond measure. See, and that's what Jesus says. Jesus brings the light to not only shine on your darkness, but to shine on the goodness that's in you. Because you have both. If we just go to church, we just get enough to know that we're not good, but we don't build that relationship with Christ, we don't ever realize how good we can be. See, it's great to know there's dark spots in your life, but it's good to know what God has put in you and the passion that God has given you to change. The life that God has given you to make a change, that is pretty amazing. See, those are things we don't get when we only let a little light in. We got to let the fullness of Christ, all of the light of Christ in, because that is how we're going to change the world.